Hello everybody, hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to more esports news, a breakdown of everything that was said by FaZe Banks, an interview done with Adam22 just last week. If you guys want the full interview, I will link it down below. They did a great job with it, tons of timestamps as well. And speaking of timestamps, I will timestamp all of the most important points that Banks did make in this podcast about the relevant topics, that being FaZe, esports, and Tfue down below. So you guys can hop around because he made some of the boldest statements I've ever seen him make, and that is saying something because you guys very well know Banks is a very bold guy. And if you guys want to skip to the last few points, that is probably the juiciest of the things that we're going to talk about today. So here's a summary of everything FaZe Banks did say in this interview with Adam22 around all of those cases. And let's hop into point number one, guys. The first of which is nothing too crazy, right? It was actually talking about the lawyers around the Tfue case, that being FaZe's very own lawyers, having to tell Banks to calm it down a bit and even take him off his phone.
When something like the Tfue thing happens, it's my responsibility to figure out how we're gonna sort through that.
It wasn't supposed to be though, because you were getting a lot of shit for all those tweets.
Yeah, no shit.
You got passionate. You got passionate as.
I had to, dude. I had to. That's me.
And you probably literally had the lawyers telling you to not say those things.
Flipping.
What? I had to shut my phone off, and I was doing it off on my laptop.
I took your phone.
Oh my god, dude! It's the worst thing. All this legal, dude. The way they've approached it from their side is so like tactical, and all this legal like ammo and all this. These legal tactics, it's for me, it's disgusting.
I mean, would you expect anything less from Banks though? Even if he takes himself off his own phone, he gets on his laptop, there was no stopping him during that week or so of time when everything was coming out. He was very passionate about his tweets, about all of his posts, even his YouTube videos, his Keemstar interviews. There was a lot said, and it makes a lot of sense from both sides as to why he's so passionate, and on top of that, why his own team would tell him to calm it down a bit and take it back a bit, which didn't really help in stopping him. Now, speaking of that, FaZe Clan being his passion, he had a lot to say about that, like you probably expect as well.
Me personally, I got a lot of love and a lot of good feedback for it. But on the flip side, FaZe has gotten a lot of shit for it. I am FaZe Clan. I have this shit tattooed on my body. I have a bunch of tattoos. It was my first tattoo. This is my life. I put so much time and effort and energy into this. I will be, like, this will live on past me. This is my legacy. Like, this is who the I am. I care about it so much that that's me, dude. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like what.
And I thought a very debatable point, the first of which that I've shown you guys so far, was the Keemstar is not biased clip. It was very interesting because we all know, if you guys especially have been watching this channel, we've talked about it endless times about Keemstar's analysis of all of the cases so far, and I certainly would call it a bias, but Banks did not think so.
And there's a million stories like that. Keem has gotten some shit for being biased about the situation. He's not being biased. He's giving his honest feedback and opinion on what the he's seen and how this shit's gone down, because the same story, and there's a million people like that.
And my short point on that is, if you actually go back to all of Keemstar's video, when it came out, some great evidence on Tfue's side, he never seemed to address that side of things. So when it comes to me determining a bias, and again, I'm not a perfect example of this, you guys know that. If you guys watched a lot of my FaZe videos, I've been a bit back and forth, but certainly favoring the Tfue side of things. But I like to think I've been open-minded about both sides and all of their evidence. When I look at Keemstar, the main thing I actually thought was a bit biased was when anything good and clear came out for Tfue's side, it was just brushed under the rug and never really covered in full to the greatest advantage for Tfue. So whether you want to call that bias or not a huge point out there. Another point made by Banks, though, is when he does finally take a return to YouTube, he's been gone for about a month or so, maybe a bit over that by now. By the time he does return to YouTube, though, for his first video back, there should be more information on Tfue coming out. So something to certainly look forward to on that, to see exactly what he does say and what he breaks down for all of us.
Contract.
Okay, so this is another thing. I haven't talked about this yet. I'm going to do my first video back. I haven't uploaded a video in a month. I've been super not vibing with the YouTube shit. I can't, like I said, I can't fake it.
Right.
I don't have the right energy to do it. But
respect for being able to admit that, because I've definitely been there. And it's a weird thing to come to grips with.
And this next clip is where things get absolutely insane to me. A guy like me, at least, who takes these kind of things and take them very seriously. He actually goes on to state what Tfue did make around that time, or in about the past year or so, and he made more than FaZe Clan themselves, bringing in around what FaZe Banks called $15 or so million. And the statements after are going to be even more shocking. But here's Banks confirming that apparently Tfue made more than the entire FaZe Clan organization.
Oh, he challenged the fact that we only made 60,000. Listen, let me explain. Tfue made more money last year than my company did, the entire FaZe Clan.
Wow.
Turner made like in the ballpark of like $15 million last year. Okay, we are just now profitable.
But that could make a lot of sense, because if you guys have also seen our videos on the esports bubble, we know, and we've talked about on the podcast as well, it's been published in several articles out there. There are many organizations, and some claim a majority organizations out there, which are not even profitable in esports itself. So it would make sense if Tfue is raking in $15+ million, he would obviously be making more than many organizations out there would. But Banks' next statement to me, this is some crazy stuff. If actually true, he actually claims that FaZe Clan is the only profitable esports organization, which I would strongly challenge is not correct anyway. You guys can take that for what you want. And goes on to state as well, they've actually raised something like $300 million, which if true is staggering. It's mind-blowing, but here's him saying it for himself.
We are just now profitable. So we're the only, by the way, the only esports organization in the world that's profitable.
Wow.
FaZe up, bitch.
Congrats.
But all these other burning money, millions of dollars a month. It's like a play, you know? It's like a long play. It's real shit.
And that's who you're up against now, is that you're sort of in contention with all these brands that are really well-funded, right?
But not at all. But we're well-funded too. We're raising money.
Right.
We're doing our we're raising it $300 million right now. We're good.
Dude, God.
So, dude, we're not in contention with anyone.
300 million. I don't know that language.
So when it comes to the background, obviously I have no ties directly to organizations like that, but I could name several organizations I would think are running a profit right now. The first of which come to my mind would be a Liquid, would be a Cloud9, would be even a Gen G, so on and so forth. To say outright you are the only profitable esports organization when you yourself do not have a look into their books, it's a very bold statement. But again, like I said before, I expect bold when it comes to Banks, but I think even more importantly, he did say they raised something like $300 million. If that is true, and if that does come out for the year of 2019, that is record-breaking amounts for an organization to raise. Immortals Gaming Club, they raised around $120 million in a single round. Liquid has raised triple digits as well, over $100 million themselves. But $300 million, if it was a single round or even a single year of raising, that is an immaculate number and a very bold statement again from Banks, which I do have to love and respect him for that. He is very passionate in what he does. Do I think both those facts, them raising $300 million and them being the only profitable esports organization, are true? Not necessarily. And very lastly, much less of a controversial topic out there, kind of a rising topic though to be talked about, is that of franchise leagues, right? We have League of Legends with all of their regions, LEC, LCS, so on and so forth. We of course have the OWL in the future in 2020 for Call of Duty being the CWL, or maybe the CDL, whatever they do call it. I actually really enjoyed hearing Banks' side on this because he is vehemently against franchise leagues. They should not belong in esports, and he expresses as to why, and brings up a great point about the games which these leagues are actually based around, that being Call of Duty, League of Legends, Overwatch. Will these games that all these organizations are banking on still be around in 10 years for these organizations to actually retain a profit or get a profit back? It's a giant mystery and a great point to bring up, in my opinion.
To see where the leagues go, I'm excited. I'm watching
I'll
all
tell
of
you
it.
right now. I'll tell you all right now. Nowhere.
The pricing, like,
isn't even the worst of it. Now what they're doing is they're organizing and structuring leagues within just one singular game, and they're making people pay $30 million for a spot in the league.
yeah.
What?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
So to make a return on that, what they're trying to do is they're trying to imitate what the NFL is
like
doing.
NFL, NBA.
But
like
why,
you have teams.
But why it will never work is because gaming is it's an umbrella thing, right? And if you're a gamer, you could be a gamer and only play League of Legends. You could be a gamer and only play Fortnite.
I'm a gamer who only plays Tetris 99.
Exactly.
I've been watching you play that shit.
I was going to say the same. Everyone's a gamer. That's the first thing. And and it's like games, like I said, they pop off and then they fall off. That's just what it is. So to spend $30 million on a league spot and to look at getting a return on that in 10 years,
none of these games are going to be around in 10 years.
The only thing that has been is like Call of Duty, but like
we could be all living in a simulation in 10 years from 2019 is going to be exponential technological growth.
And so I've already talked about that. When it comes to the topic of debate, that being Call of Duty, and viewership wise, do I think longevity can actually make a profit for organizations who pay $30 to $50 million to get into it? It's a tough sell for me. It really is. I have an entire video breaking that down, especially when you compare viewership numbers of that to Fortnite or even Overwatch. Overwatch has 4 times the viewership of Call of Duty, especially when you compare it to League of Legends, who is 10x that of Call of Duty. I think as of right now, when you look at the future future of these franchise leagues, League of Legends certainly has the far and away best shot. And even then, even they are trying very hard to actually find sponsors to earn money back for the franchise league. You know, Overwatch I've already been a bit tentative about in terms of how digestible it is. So it's very cool to see other points out there made by higher ups in organizations like Banks talk about the longevity of these things. And especially when it comes down to an organization like FaZe, who is considering buying a spot, I assume, into the CWL for Call of Duty. But with him saying that, you know, maybe if they choose not to, maybe this is exactly what's going to come back to be the reason why. If they see this and no one else does, and FaZe saves $30 to $50 million and the CWL comes crashing down, then they're ahead of the game. But with all that being said, a ton of debatable points out there, a ton of controversial points as well. Again, the full interview will be linked down below for all of you guys. I love touching on when higher ups in organizations come forward about this kind of stuff because, you know, like I've said many times so far, there are not many people as bold and passionate and as ballsy as Banks is when it comes to saying whatever comes to his mind about his own organization, that being FaZe Clan. We rarely get a sight this far in to an organization. I definitely enjoy seeing this kind of side of things. Whether what he says is always true or not is an entirely different question. But as always, my name is Jake. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown of everything FaZe Banks said during his interview with Adam22. I hope you guys all enjoy your weekend. Be safe. I'll see you sometime very soon breaking down future esports news. Until then, take care.